Dandavat Pranam, Radhe Radhe. Welcome to Shri Shri Radha Vinobihari Mandir, Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Guru Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Petit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai, Radha Vinobihari Ju ki jai, Radha Ramana Ju ki jai, गिरिराज महाराज की जय, हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Today is also the anniversary of the appearance, I believe, please forgive me if I'm wrong, of Srila Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj, very powerful, prominent disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, very powerful, amazing preacher of the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we will say a few words about him today. Srila Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj ki jai. Disappearance, that's what I was checking for. Okay. So we will begin with Mangalacharan, page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Gucha, Vandeham, Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamalam, Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagano Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahavano Radhika Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupada Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Namine Shri Krishna Lila Kripane Sudaksham Audarya Madhurya Gunashcha Yuktam Varam Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Vamshirasham Namami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromanincha Shri Krishna Padajivitaika Vritti Chaitanya Lila Amrita Sarasaram Narayanam Vam Satatam Prapadye Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnupadaya Gaura प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव नित्यामिने अतिमर्त्य चरित्राय स्वश्रितानंशपालिने जीवदुःखे सनरताय श्रीनाम प्रेमदायिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवर्षभारती देवी दयिताय कृपाभये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दयिने ब्रह्मवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वल प्रेमाध्य श्रीरूपानुग भक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दिनकारिणे रूपानुगम्योद्धाप सिद्धान्तध्वन्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भरसम्बोधे पदं पूजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगमपदायते गौराविर्भावभूमे स्वं निर्दिष्टा सजनप्रिया वैष्णवः सर्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्तो राधाकान्तो नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां सुरतोपङ्गो मम मन्दं मतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वत्पदं भोजो राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमनं श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्री श्रीराधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेव प्रेष्ठानिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन्द्रसरसारन्धी वंशीवततस्थितः कर्षन्मेनुस्वरगोपी गोपीनाथ श्रियस्तु नः वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदो श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भव महादाभक्तिनिर्वापनम् श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दमृतिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतास्वादनम् सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्ण संकीर्तनम् हरेर्नाम हरेर्नाम हरेर्नामेव केवलम् पदो नास्त्येव 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 गतिरन्यथा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय जय Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru Adbhuta Jako Prakash, page 29. And if you don't have a songbook, then Jiva Pavan Prabhu, I have not opened it yet. I don't know if it's here. One second. If you're there, which I hope he is, he usually posts the bhajans in the comment section of the thread, so you can just scroll to the most recent post at Jiva Pavan Prabhu, and there you will find the bhajan, and you can accompany with the bhajan. Sudevi is giving her voice a rest today. The weather change here is quite extreme. So I will be playing mridanga and singing with the tambura. And all of you. Jayo Jayo Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru Jaya Jaya Shri Guru Prema Kalpataru Ebaro Kuruna Karo, Vaisnava Goshai, page 44. Vaishnava Goshai, Ebaro Karuna Koro, Vaishnava Goshai, Upatita Pavana Toma, Viveke Jai Anilo Premadhana Karuna Prachur. Starting with J-E A-N-I-L-O. Page 99. Nadia Godrume later, after Jai Anilo. Sudevi is here in heart. She just can't sing today. We have some difficulty with our AC blowing out some mold spores. Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. We have been requested for Nadiya Godume Nityananda Mahajan. 163, 163, or whatever Jivapada we post there, you will find it. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Nadiya Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan Pati ache namahata jivera karan. Nadiya Nadiya Godrume Nityananda No particular requests for Mahaprabhu. So maybe we'll do one of those that we don't do very often. Not do. Pray to and beg for the shelter of Mahaprabhu. Emon Shachira Nandana Bine. Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai. Emon Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine. That's page 70, sorry, forgot to tell you. Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine Prema Bolina Ati Adbhuta Shruta Vaito Karo Ati Adbhuta Shruta Vaito Karo Kare Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Shri Krishna Namero Swaguna Mahima Kevo Janahito Yaro Shri Krishna Namero Swaguna Mahima Kevo Janahito Yaro Vrindavipine Mahamadhurima Vrindavipine Mahamadhurima Pravesha Hoito Karo Pravesha Hoito Karo Demo Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine Keva Janahito Radhar Madhurya Rasa Jasha Chamatkaro Keva Janahito Radhar Madhurya Rasa Jasha Chamatkaro Tarayanubhav Satviko Vikar Tarayanubhav Satviko Vikar Gocharo Chiro Vakaro Gocharo Chiro Vakaro Nemo Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine Sachiranandana Dine Raje Jelilas Rasa Maharas Premo Parakiyo Tata Raje Jelilas Rasa Maharas Premo Parakiya Tata Gopira Mahima Vyabhichari Sima Gopira Mahima Vyabhichari carissima, caro Bhagavati, Chiroyeto, caro Bhagavati, Chiroyeto, Shochiro Nandano, Bine, Shochiro Nandano, Chiranandana Bine Shochiranandana Bine Dhanya Kali Dhanya Nitai Chaitanya Parama Karuna Kori Dhanya Kali Nitai Chaitanya Parama Karuna Kori Vidhiya Gochar Je Premo Vikar Vidhiya Gochar Je Premo Vikar Prakashe Jagata Bhori Prakashe Jagata Bhori Hemo Shochiranandana Bine Shochiranandana Bine Shochiranandana Shochi Okay. Janama Safalatar Krishna Darshanajar, page 126. Janama Safalata Krishna Darshanajar, Janama Safalata Krishna Darshanajar, Bhage Hori Ache
Samsaro gelam bhule, samsaro gelam bhule, sakhi hai shudha moh se rupa madhuri, shudha moh se rupa madhuri, dekhile nayan hoye achetan, jhare premamaya vari, dekhile nayan hoye achetan, jhare premamaya vari, kiba chura shire, kiba gongshi kare, kiba chura shire, kiba gongshi kare, kiba se tribhanga tham, kiba se tribhanga tham, charana kamale ami ayu chare, charana kamale ami ayu chare, tahate nupura dam, tahate nupura dam, swadaya shapuri bringarupa dhari, swadaya shapuri bringarupa dhari, charana kamale sthan, charana kamale sthan, honaya se pai Krishna gunogay, honaya se pai Krishna gunogay, aruna bhoji moyano, aruna bhoji moyano, aruna bhoji moyano, aruna bhoji moyano. Krishna he, 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 Krishna he. Shri Krishna Kanhe Lal ki jai. So I don't sing this one very often, so I would like to read the translation by Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. This bhajan is by Bhaktivedanta Thakur. That person's birth is successful if, by good fortune, he has Krishna's darshan just once. By seeing Krishna with the opened eyes of the heart, the jiva abandons all perversions of consciousness. Bedecked with garlands of forest flowers, Krishna expertly engages in amorous enjoyment in Vrindavan. Standing in his threefold bending form and holding his flute, he displays unparalleled beauty. He is an ocean of nectarian mellows and a reservoir of all good qualities. His bodily complexion is the color of a fresh rain cloud. He wears a great peacock feather on his head, and his forehead is beautifully decorated with marks of sandalwood paste. Wearing yellow garments and smiling sweetly, he maddens the whole world with his beauty. When I see that form of Krishna, whose beauty defeats the dark blue Indranila jewel, sapphire, standing under a kadamba tree, my mind becomes unsteady, my feet cannot move, and I forget my material existence. O Sakhi, his sweet form is full of nectar. If the eyes behold that form, one falls unconscious, and tears of love stream from them. How wonderful is the peacock feather crown on his head! How wonderful is the flute in his hands! How wonderful is his threefold bending form! His lotus feet overflow with nectar and are bound with ankle bells. I always desire to take the form of a bee and attain shelter at his lotus feet. I shall readily sing of Krishna's glories and never worship any other. In this bhajan I see many references and resemblances. Like Rupa Goswami, he says in the bhajan Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, he says Manmanasa Madhukaram Arpaya Nijapada Pankajamakarande, that may my mind, which is like a bumblebee, always flow to your feet, which are like reddish lotus flowers. And so Bhaktivedanta Thakur is also saying here, Bringa Rupa Dori, like a bumblebee. And also he's referencing that beautiful prayer that we sing, Bandhu Sange Jadi Tabaranga Parihas, which is based on a verse written by Rupa Goswami, Smeram Hangi Traya Parichitam Shachivishtirna Drishtim, where the gopis are warning each other. And our Gurudev also warned us, if you care anything for your friendships, for your best friends, for all of your relationships and everything that seems so important in this world, whatever you do, my friend, do not go to Vrindavan. And if by some great misfortune you happen to come to Vrindavan, whatever you do, don't go right there to Keshi Ghat. And if by some extreme misfortune you go to Keshi Ghat, whatever you do, my friend, do not look upon the face of Govinda, who is smiling sweetly, whose lips resemble fresh, sprouting leaves, who's holding the flute to his lips, whose nails are glowing brilliantly, whose face is lit up by like the moonlight, Ujvalam Chandrakena. You will forget everything. Everything that you thought was once important will all become insignificant. So whatever you do, do not go to Vrindavan at Keshi Ghat and look upon the face of Govindaji. And Bhaktivedanta Thakur is referencing so many things in this beautiful prayer. And of course we know that Bhaktivedanta Thakur is also an intimate maidservant of Srimati Radhika and also following Ananga Manjari. So Bhaktivedanta Thakur is showing here in this beautiful prayer the mood and the sweetness of the maidservants of Srimati Radhika by his own or her own declaration. Although they are completely favorable to and leaning towards Srimati Radhika, it's not that they don't love Krishna. Everyone in Vrindavan, all beings are attracted to Krishna. Everyone in Vrindavan loves Krishna. But they understand that to serve Krishna the best is to somehow arrange for the happy, beautiful Milan of Radha and Krishna. Jai Jai Radha Krishna Jugala Milan. And so they're in love with the love of Radha and Krishna. When I was reading this translation, I was also reminded of something that I read today. Because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada mentioned that the best way in the world today of establishing the truth is to show what is not truth. And so sometimes we might understand that to mean all of the relative untruths of this world. And then we can argue about what's true and what's not regarding this world. But our Shastras have defined the lines differently. They've established Krishna as Parasatyam, the supreme absolute truth, and all other mundane things as untruths. So to take sides this way and that way between material untruths is not necessarily defining truth or reality from illusion. They distinguished reality from illusion. And so here in this beautiful prayer, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur is telling about how beautiful, how sweet Krishna is, that here my feet cannot move and I forget my material existence. This is stunned, completely stunned. So in this discussion, I saw it because it was on a post that I posted and then devotees were commenting in it and adding other things, mundane conceptions. about material things of this world. And I was looking at it, and someone posted something about material civilization must be crushed. And I was thinking, what is the process that Mahaprabhu has given us? What is the process that our acharyas have given us to crush this? At the time of the Mahabharata war, Krishna ordered Arjuna and so many others to fight a physical war, and so many were killed. But in this age of Kali, the demon and devotee is inside everyone. So Mahaprabhu went with his chakra even to kill Jagai and Madai, and Nityananda Prabhu stopped him. No, you have not come for that purpose. You cannot kill everyone, but your glory will truly be known if you can liberate these two. Kill the internal demon and awaken the devotee. And what is the process that Mahaprabhu utilized for that? Two things. Two main astras. One astra, his own beauty. How attractive is he? And the other astra, Harinam Sankirtan. By that, the Sukriti will manifest, by which one will come to the association of Vaishnavas. And by hearing in the association of Vaishnavas the Katha of Krishna, Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridyantasto Hyabadrani, Vidunoti Suritsatam, almost all kinds of anarthas and everything will be removed. Why? Because a higher taste will manifest. So when I read material civilization must be crushed, I was thinking, does that mean physical crushed? Not necessarily, no. It means that one must awaken their crush on Krishna. They must develop that love and affection. Here he's saying, my feet cannot move, and I forget my material existence. So this can only be had in the association of Vaishnavas, this awakening of love and affection for Krishna. Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakati Sadma. The only way to awaken this mood of pure love, pure loving devotion, bhakti, is at the feet of Shri Guru, by the mercy of Shri Guru, by the mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord, by hearing the glories of Krishna. Like the Katha that Gurudev told about Man Mana Bhav. How beautiful. By hearing the glories of Krishna and the beauty of Krishna, one will want to give up everything else and offer and surrender their entire life at his lotus feet. So when I was reading this translation, I began to smile thinking about that. Material civilization or Western civilization must be crushed. It's not for us to go and start punching everything and hitting everything and destroying everything. But through the process of bhakti, to the extent that we follow, to that extent we can share that pure thing. And you saw what Srila Prabhupada did. He sat in the park, closed his eyes, chanted Panchatattva Mahamantra and Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And when he opened his eyes, he saw the most amazing thing. He told our Gurudev, normally you see worms going toward the stool, but I saw worms leaving the stool of this material energy, this material world. And they were becoming devotees and putting their arms in the air and chanting Jai Sachinandana Hare Krishna. This is what Prabhupada saw. He explained it to our Gurudev like this. So by his own purity, by his complete dedication and taking shelter and offering everything in the lotus feet of Krishna, everyone in that vicinity began to feel blissful. And because of that, you see that it spread all over the world, in every town and village, by his grace, by his dedication, and by his desire to serve the order of his Guru Maharaj. This is the process by which material civilization can be crushed. When one develops a crush on Krishna by hearing about how sweet he is. When you read this, Bhaktivedanta Thakur is he's completely smitten. How beautiful is Krishna. And so I know I've told it before, but I will tell it again. When we were in South Africa with our Gurudev, at that time this was 2010, he had already gone from South Africa to Brazil. And then he came back again to South Africa. Then he came to India, went to Russia for a little bit, came back to India and began his disappearance pastimes. So he was not feeling so well and he could not speak so much. But when his turn came to speak, after having so many others speak, he was sitting there and there was a big background behind him of Kusum Sarovar, temple in Kusum Sarovar. And when he began speaking, he started with Barhapidam Natabaravapu Karnayor Karnikara. And then he spoke another verse, Kasturi Tilakam Lalata Patale Bhakshashtale Koshtubam. Both of these are glorifications of Krishna's beauty that the gopis have described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. And then he said, he looked up and he said, you have not seen how beautiful is Krishna. You have not seen. If you could collect all of the beauty in the entire universe and condense it into one point, that would not equal even one particle of dust on the feet of Krishna. How beautiful is Krishna? How beautiful is Krishna? And he said, those eyes that have not seen this, they are quite useless and they should be set on fire. So he was manifesting this mood of deep attraction to Krishna. How beautiful is Krishna? And the audience didn't know what to do or how to reciprocate. They could only recognize that he was seeing something, that he was witnessing something. And they just broke out into spontaneous applause at that time. So I just wanted to share that in relation to this beautiful bhajan. So now, we will call out for the mercy of Srimati Radhika. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. I think it's page 341. 341. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Radhe, Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite. Gokula Taruni Mandala महाराज की जय। हरियत्र भाव महामहोत्सव की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गुरु भक्त वृंद की जय। पिताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि
Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayanitti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminitti Namine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate giring Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandava Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Vishnupad astottara Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. In the same thousands of Dandava Pranam at the lotus feet, in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Vishnupad astottara Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And also on this day, the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj, I offer my thousands of Dandava Pranam in the dust of his lotus feet, and also to all of our Rupanuga and Gaudiya Guru Varga, and to all Vaishnavas past, present, and future, including all of you who are present with us today, I offer my Dandava Pranam. So today, as I've mentioned previously, we are observing the anniversary of the disappearance of Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj. He is a stalwart disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, a fearless fighter, means he fought with his words, and he is renowned and glorified in all Gaudiya Math because of his very strong, uncompromising, fearless, powerful, tattvavit, means full of all Siddhanta and Shastra, that kind of preaching. So every year on his day, especially during Kartik, we would hear his glories. Interestingly, there's only one disciple of his in our parikrama, and that is Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Sridhar Maharaj of Rup Sanatan, well, where his base is Rup Sanatan, Gaudiya Math. So he's a disciple of Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj. But Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj also was close to our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. He was also, I think he was a founding member of Gaudivedanta Samiti. So when they established that, when they had to move away from the main mutt because of so many discrepancies that were going on after the disappearance of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada from this world, when they could no longer reconcile, they had to leave and start their own society. And so he was part of that, as was our Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, as was our Param Gurudev, and so many other stalwart Vaishnavas. And this is something which has to be done from time to time. Unfortunately, and also fortunately, because unfortunately, well, it's not the best service necessarily to the institution of one's Gurudev to not work in harmony. And yet, if each group which splits off from each other is all endeavoring or are all endeavoring to serve the mission of their Gurudev to the best of their ability, then because of the natural competitive mood, it could even spread more and further. So sometimes these things happen like that. Sometimes it's lila and sometimes it is aparad. So that's to be decided or seen by any future Mahabhagavats. Like when Krishna left this world, how did the entire Yadu dynasty disappear? In a very horrific way, but this was all lila. So
This Srila Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj, I don't know so much about him, but I remember a little bit of what Srila Gurudev would tell. I actually read through a little bit of what Srila Bhakti Bhagyan Bharati Maharaj told, and he told a lot, but I just can't retain all of that, those glories within myself yet. So I pray that one day I will be able to, but I do remember Gurudev speaking about him and his fearless preaching mood. So, and Gurudev would laugh so much when he would speak about how he would preach. So once there was one location in Bangladesh, I believe, where very senior disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada were preaching the conceptions of bhakti, as we have learned from Rupa Goswami in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they were having so much success, slowly, enculturing the local population with the conceptions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then came this Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj. That time he was Siddha Swarupananda Brahmachari, I think. Thank you. And so he was given an opportunity to speak. And he said something which offended many, many people in the audience. Two of the national heroes, especially of Bengal, but also of India. Two of the national heroes who have kind of even gone beyond the borders of India with their teachings, and some also personally. He spoke about them in denigrating ways because of their Mayavad nature. They were not bringing the ideas of bhakti, but were rather bringing the ideas of Mayavadism. Within India they were preaching it, and outside of India also. And they were basically bringing disgrace from his perspective and from the perspective of the teachings of Shuddha Sanatan Dharma, bringing disgrace to the transcendental nature of, they were bringing disgrace to India by not disseminating the transcendental nature of bhakti. So this Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj, that time was Brahmachari, he compared one of them to a goat, and the other one, what was it? Bebe Kananda Ram Chagal, he called. Two of these personalities, he actually used very harsh, heavy names in relation to them. And this created a big stir where everyone was riotous. They were against the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, against Gaudiya Mat. These were their national heroes. He even preached, but they couldn't hear anything beyond that. And so a message went back to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada that this one disciple, because of his preaching, has single-handedly destroyed all of your preaching in this area. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada heard what he was preaching, and he actually proclaimed, because of this, now our preaching has gone out into all of the newspapers everywhere by this one disciple's preaching. He said, we have done millions of rupees worth of preaching by his preaching. And so our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, explained that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada went to that place from Mayapur and then established with all Shastras, irrefutably, all of the conceptions that Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj had spoken. And then all of them began to accept. So they established, and in Srila Bhakti Bhagyan Bharati Maharaj was speaking about two different interactions of a similar nature. And another one, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj established all of these truths. And everyone began to become favorable to the Gaudiya Mat because they established with Shastra the truth. And this is essential. Srila Bhakti Bhagyan Bharati Maharaj said that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada actually said one should never use these kinds of harsh languages where you're calling people names and things like that. But anyhow, what this Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj had done, Siddha Swarupananda Brahmachari, what he has done such a great service that he established or gave him 3 separate amazing titles. I can't remember, one of them was like the that the greatest proponent of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Another one was the knower and disseminator of all transcendental knowledge and Siddhanta. If you know what they are, you can post them. But he was giving him such lofty titles. This should be reserved for him only, because he's unafraid to speak the truth in all circumstances, even at the expense of his own life. And this is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada spoke, and I read it yesterday, that we should not be afraid to speak the truth under any circumstance. If I were to desist from lecturing about the truth due to fear that some listeners may become displeased, then I would be deviating from the path of truth. So we've understood from our Srila Prabhupada that one should always speak the truth. They should try to speak it palatably, but if that's not possible, still, the truth must be spoken. And what is the truth? It's not mundane truths. It's establishing Krishna, establishing Mahaprabhu, establishing those truths. All other things of this material world, Gurudev explained, are not true because of their temporary natures. So if we're fighting about the things of this material world, which have a temporary nature, the result will actually be disastrous. But if we're trying to bring about absolute truth, this kind of truth, real, eternal, Sanatan Dharma, eternal, ever-existing truth, then there is no ill effect. The effect will always be positive. Look at what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada did. He was preaching the truth so boldly that I told the other day they wanted to kill him and also hurt the devotees who were part of his parikrama. And afterward, I believe it was Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj who explained that they actually asked him, do you want to make a court case against these people? And he said, why? He said, by this single act, they have spread the glories of Mahaprabhu everywhere. Now everyone is, favorable to our cause because we have become the victims. So he was showing that why should we take these people to court? What they have done, we couldn't have done in years and years. They have given us free press and it has gone all over India. And then so many kings and princes and other persons were donating to the Gaudiya Math, seeing how they were being targeted unfairly because they were preaching truth from Shastra. So Srila Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj had this kind of nature where he was very boldly always speaking the truth. If you have an opportunity to read from his Upadeshavali, his last instructions, or the compilation of his primary instructions, you will see how strong and heavy he is. He's so uncompromising. So uncompromising. Certain things really struck me. How he spoke or how he wrote that you cannot understand the true intentions of the disciples of your Gurudev until after their disappearance. While Guru is present, everyone appears to be doing the thing that they should be doing. But after the disappearance of Guru, he said, then you will start to see what kind of hidden agendas anyone had. And he said, those who start manifesting their hidden agendas after the disappearance of their Guru, you should know that they never really properly listened to their Guru in the first place. So he was quite strong about these issues. And it reminds me of our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I was there in the lecture when he revealed, and it was quite shocking. He said, some are waiting for me to die so that they can become acharya. And we were like, it was like shocking. But he said it like that. And so he understood who has agendas and who doesn't. So Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj, he also acknowledged this and he wrote it down, that you will be able to see their nature not necessarily when they're present in front of their Guru, but after the disappearance of Guru. Then you will see who is going after what, who is going after the wealth, who is going after the material enjoyment, who is going after the name, the fame, the position, the high seat, so to speak. you can see everything much more clearly. And also he was establishing what is the real mood of a disciple. Not just claiming that I am a disciple. Not just claiming that I have become the recipient of the mercy of my Gurudev. So many times we have seen and heard that people have been glorified by their Gurudev. You know what Gurudev said about me? He said this and this and this. One should understand that if Guru is glorifying you, then sometimes it may be considered that he is cheating. He's trying to see what you will do with that. Oh, you're so good, you're so great. A disciple should always think, why is he glorifying me like this? Is this what I want to hear? Is this what I want to be? Do I want to be glorified and get the pat on the back? Oh, you're so good, you're so wonderful. There's no one like him. This is the most wonderful. We will know that it was cheating if we take what Guru says about us and start projecting it. Oh, Gurudev said this about me. I'm so great. I'm so wonderful. Then we can know that it is the cheating of Guru. If we take it in a mood of humility, I don't know why he said these things about me. I have no qualification. Maybe he was mocking me. Maybe he was joking with me. Or if Guru chastises us, then we can represent that. But we should not represent that Gurudev said, I am so wonderful. Only you, Gurudev. Gurudev said, only me. These kind of things. Then we should take it with a grain of salt. Oh, what is this? Why is Gurudev saying this? Just like Gurudev even said, I want to see what will happen. After some time, so many will become Guru, but I want to see what will happen. How they will be able to tolerate everyone glorifying them, telling them they love them, giving them money, name, fame, power, pratishtha, and all of these. How will they be able to deal with these things? And so, this is also sometimes a test. And so Srila Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj, he explained this in his Upadeshavali, that one who is actually surrendered and submitted and following without any desire for Kanaka Kamani and Pratishtha, who is really making the endeavor to serve, to follow the instructions of their Gurudev without any ulterior motive, then they can be considered a real disciple who is accepting the discipline. And he was explaining that a real, true disciple is even more rare than the true Guru. The real disciple is more rare than the real Guru. How rare is a real disciple? That's why each of our Gurus, all of our Guru Varga have said, if even only one takes what I'm trying to give, then my mission will be successful. I've heard it from my Gurudev. I know that Srila Prabhupada said it. I know that Srila Govinda Maharaj said it. I know that so many of our Gurus and our Guru Varga have spoken these things. If only one takes it seriously. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't have hope. Oh, I'm not a disciple, so I should just give up. No. We should try to be in such a way that our Guru will be proud of us. That our Guru will accept us. That yes, you are a soul who's completely surrendered. You are truly loyal. You are not changing. You are not twisting. You're not manipulating. You may have faults. No worries. But at least you are not changing the message. You are not manipulating. You're not cheating. You're honest. I can work with you. One time I heard our Gurudev say something very interesting. He was speaking about those who are jnanis, who are focused only on the acquiring knowledge aspect so that they can rise themselves above the material plane by the acquirement of knowledge. He said their hearts become very dry. He said to convert a dry heart toward the path of bhakti is extremely difficult. But those who are fully absorbed in material enjoyment, who have taste for material enjoyment, they have ruchi, taste, attraction for so many things. He said because they have this taste, they have not given up the feeling of desire for things. He said very easily that can be converted into taste, dovetailed, converted into the taste for Krishna Bhakti Rasa. This was quite interesting for me and a little bit eye-opening. That it's easier to turn one from the desire for gross sense enjoyment than it is to turn one whose heart is dry. If one has one kind of rasa, then you just need to present a much sweeter rasa for them. But one who does not want any rasa, any nectar, they want to be dry, like a dry sponge. Very difficult, very dry, hard. Maybe not a sponge, because sponges absorb liquid. Dry like a stone. It's very difficult to absorb or to convert that. So Gurudev, he explained that one can convert. Sri Guru can convert our material selfish desires into the desires to serve Krishna's transcendental senses. And this can only be brought about by somehow or other awakening the higher taste. It is necessary to awaken that higher taste. So in connection with that, higher taste, what is that higher taste? If we do not hear about Krishna, about his names, forms, qualities, and pastimes from someone who has experience, then that real taste cannot be awakened. That person must have experience of Krishna. And then when they're speaking of Krishna, because their hearts are saturated with love and affection, this will inspire within our hearts that, yes, I also want what you have, what you are tasting. I believe it was Srila Gurudev who was speaking about that. If a child is playing with something dangerous, like a knife, if you try to take that knife away from the child, what will happen? The child will just be screaming and crying, no, I want it, and they will only try to go after that thing. So Srila Gurudev was explaining that Guru is like an expert mother. The expert mother doesn't just take it away. She begins playing with something else and making that thing so beautiful, so sweet, and so attractive that automatically the child will put that thing down and run, no, give me that, give me that. So what did Gurudev do? He spent so much energy speaking about the sweet pastimes of Krishna to distract us from all of our sweet pastimes and bring us to thinking about Krishna. And what example do we have in Shastra of this? There's so many, but I'll mention one. Narada Muni would regularly go to the palace of the king of Vidarbha, King Bhishmaka. He would go to the palace, and what would he speak to the king there? Oh, I saw Krishna. Krishna did this, Krishna did that, Krishna this, Krishna that. Krishna's names, forms, qualities, and pastimes. And at that time, because Narada is a sadhu, the kings would also, they were dharmic. They would engage their daughters, the princesses, in serving the sadhus. So his little princess, Rukmini, she was serving Narada Muni at that time, and she would overhear these glories of Krishna. How beautiful, how sweet, how charming, how attractive, and all of his wonderful heroic pastimes. And already within her heart, she was beginning to desire, what is that? Who is that? I want to know him. I want to meet him. And then the desire came very strong in her heart. I will accept no one else as my husband, only him. And so she dedicated herself just through the process of hearing. And in this connection, of course, we know that when the time came, they arranged her marriage to Shishupal, and she wrote a letter to Krishna. What is meant for the lion is going to be stolen by the jackal. If you do not come to get me, I have no reason to maintain my existence. Gurudev said, if any lady makes a threat, that's one thing. If she starts crying, it may melt your heart. But if she threatens to give up her life, oh, then a man will be down to do anything she says, Gurudev said. So she said, I will have to just give up my life. If you don't, I have no reason to maintain my life. This is that same mood. Koruna na hoile, kandiya kandiya, prana na rakhibo. Without your mercy. Koruna na hoile. Weeping and weeping. Kandiya kandiya, prana na rakhibo. I will not be able to maintain my life. I will give up my life. When someone has that kind of mood of true, honest desperation and attraction, Krishna will be bound to come. And he came in the midst of all of these great warriors, swooped her off her feet, literally, put her in the chariot, she drove the chariot, and Krishna fought with all of them as she drove away. So, this is the nature of hearing the glories of Krishna from the mouths of the pure devotees, that this higher taste will awaken in one's heart. And this is really what we are hoping for. If this higher taste is awakened, then automatically all kinds of lower tastes will be given up. There's no necessity to meditate about it, to think about it. By the mercy of Guru, Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite. Prema Bhakti is established in the heart. Love and affection for Krishna begins to awaken and arise. And when the sun of Krishna, Krishna Surya Sama, when that sun begins to rise, Mayahai Andakar, all darkness begins to dissipate. I believe there's a verse in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita which also makes that point. That just as if you go into the forest with a torch, all poisonous creatures, all dangerous creatures run far away. In a similar way, during Kirtan, if you're clapping your hands and chanting the holy names of the Lord, all anarthas run very far away. So by this Prema Bhakti manifesting by the grace of Guru, Sadhu and Vaisnava, then automatically all ignorance is destroyed. It is kicked out. It runs very far away. And what is remaining there? That higher taste. And what is the proof of taste? The proof of taste is greed. And because the nature of transcendental taste is such that it is ever fresh, ever new, navayovanam, ever fresh and ever new, then it is like purvarag at every moment. Then the necessity comes. I need more, I need more, I need more. And that thirst is never really fully satisfied. The thirst of loving service to Krishna, that is the root qualification for the development of Krishna Bhakti. Krishna Bhakti rasabhavitamati kriyatam jarikutopi labhyate tatra lolyam apimulyam ekalam janma koti shukritayana labhyate. Millions of lives of doing good things in this world cannot awaken Krishna Bhakti. Feeding the poor, feeding the cows, giving in charity, building hospitals, doing so many good things, helping this thing and that thing, and voting for this political, this guy, and that politics, this thing, all of that cannot awaken bhakti in one's heart. What is the root qualification for the awakening of Krishna Bhakti Rasa? It is the intense, greedy desire to have it, and that can only be awakened in the association of Krishna's pure devotees. One other thing I wanted to mention, I believe it was Jiva Pavana Prabhu who tagged me in a very interesting post today. And so I'm just going to mention it a little bit. Some devotees were discussing that to impress upon children, young children, Krishna consciousness, this has a negative or backfiring effect. And they tried to utilize the idea that, well, look at those who went to Gurukul. It had the opposite effect. And because I have gone to Gurukul, I am a Tattvadarshi in that. And I have experienced that kind of thing. I would say, very honestly, that it wasn't the impressions of Krishna consciousness that were unfavorable. It was the cheating in the name of Krishna consciousness that was unfavorable. That's what makes people lose faith. When you're trying to superimpose some mundane nonsense in the name of spirituality, when you're in one sense trying to tell someone, Krishna is truth, everything, this is beautiful, this is true, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and on the other hand, you're saying, and all of this nonsense, which is opposed to Shastra, this is also good and also true, then you create a conflict of interest, a kind of spiritual bipolarity, which literally rips you apart. So the idea that we should not impress upon children Krishna consciousness, then what are we going to impress upon them? Maya is extremely powerful and prominent, especially now. So if we do not impress upon children Krishna consciousness, one, Shastra says we are unfit to be parents, and we are fit to be rejected. Gurur nasasya, svajano nasasya, pita nasasya, janani nasasya. Pita, janani, means father and mother. If they do not help or assist the children or their dependents away from the path which leads to death, which means toward Krishna, then they're not fit to be in that position, Shastra tells. 2, if one has knowledge of Krishna and does not share that, then they're doing violence to that jiva. So that jiva has somehow come into one's life. If I do not somehow push that child toward Krishna, then I am doing violence to that jiva. And if I neglect to share Krishna with that child, then I'm also doing violence to that jiva. So I'm guilty of jiva hingsa, or violence to the jiva. And what will be the result? 99.9% of the time, if we do not impress Krishna consciousness, you'll see what we all know. Everyone knows. It's video games, Netflix, cartoons, and everything else. And then, when you go to tell that person about Krishna, where's the interest? Very rarely you will find that someone has interest, real interest. But if we've only allowed Maya to impress upon them, then we have failed in our duty as parents, especially devotee parents. Somehow or other, we should try to make Krishna attractive and give Krishna in such a way that they want to accept Krishna. This was the instruction of Srila Prabhupada. Now, some people decided to do it a different way, but I just wanted to mention this because I feel it's extremely important. We, as guides or those who are parents, have an obligation to somehow or other impress something in their children. That's what parents are for. Not just to, okay, grow yourself, good luck, okay, as soon as you're ready, get out. No, parents have children and they want to impress certain values, certain ideas and ideals within those children. So if we avoid the real transcendental and good ideals and just let them have material, mundane, moralistic ideals, then how have we helped them? Because all of those mundane and moralistic ideals are not at all qualification for Krishna Bhakti Rasa. Only the intense desire to have that. So you see what our gurus come and do. They're more than millions of mothers of this world because they don't want us to be attracted to the material energy. So they spend all of their time trying to distract us from the material energy by giving the attracting beauty of Krishna, the allurement of his names, of his forms, of his qualities, of his pastimes, of his relationships with his devotees. And they establish that as something which is true and real because that is their experience. It is true and real. I read a beautiful quote today. Srila Prabhupada was talking about seeing Krishna and experiencing his relationship with Krishna. And the devotee was questioning, you see Krishna? He said, yes. They said, when? He said, at every moment. So because we might not have faith, or our faith might be very weak, then we don't feel that it is essential that we share Krishna. But it's essential that we tell them that you should be good, that you should learn about the ways of this world, the nature of this world, mundane politics, all of these things, learn how to make money, to be comfortable and live in this world. But that won't awaken bhakti, ever. And if we fail to give anything positive about Krishna, if we really fail to share that, then we have actually, I've seen it too many times. I cannot neglect the reality. If we neglect to share Krishna, then we're not giving them even a fighting chance. If we even just give 50-50, that's almost not a fighting chance. Because the moment they split off, then it's only almost 100% Maya. So the duty of a parent is to try to give, yes, we can give foundational things of this world, sure. That one can survive and one can function, that's great and wonderful. But we should not neglect the most important thing. Why has that jiva come into our association? We have an opportunity to give Krishna. We have an opportunity to share Krishna with that person. That jiva has been waiting to take birth in that family for that purpose. And if we fail to do such a thing, then we are considered the misers. So it doesn't only apply to all of those people out there, oh, we should tell them about Krishna. No, we should tell our own family members about Krishna. Remind each other. This is really the meaning of family. That I will help you to remember Krishna, you will help me to remember Krishna. And I can tell you honestly and frankly, who is considered a close family member? As we are journeying through this world, it's not blood. Blood is one thing, blood is material. Who has that vision? Who is endeavoring on that path? Who's striving to hold tightly to the lotus feet of Sri Guru? Who does not want to compromise? Who wants to utilize their life in service? My family is Krishna Sansar. At the time of initiation, I have received, and I'm not speaking about me, we have received a transcendental second birth. We no longer belong to this world. Our gotra is Achyuta Gotra. We are in the line, in the family of Krishna. To the extent that one is supporting that, Anukulyasya Sankalpa, we will accept that association. To the extent that one is unfavorable for that, then we keep it very far. So then we might have surface dealings. But we've always heard this. One should develop attachments only for Krishna and his devotees. Developing that attachment like that. Right? Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. Actually, Ese Uttamagati means one can attain the highest destination. Uttama means highest and Gati means destination. By having attachment to the lotus feet of Sri Guru. That means accepting their moods, their teachings, their instructions, their way of being, and also trying to come into that flow. So I'm going to come back around to Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj. Although he had only one disciple in our entire parikrama, and we had thousands of people, still Srila Gurudev would give the opportunity for his disciple to glorify him, for other Vaishnavas to glorify him, and then Gurudev himself would glorify him. And today I read it like this for the first time. I've heard it in many different ways, but Srila Gurudev said something so beautiful. He always says things beautiful, but it was just so beautiful. He said, so we pray to him on his day, that in the way that he served his Gurudev, served the inner heart's desire of his Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, I pray to him that he will bless me, that I can serve my Gurudev in such a way. So we can pray to those persons who have served their Gurudev. You have this kind of nishta, you have this kind of conviction, you have this kind of fearlessness, you have this kind of boldness, you have this kind of uncompromisingness, you have this kind of deep faith and conviction in the lotus feet of your Gurudev. Please bless me that I can have this kind of mood in the lotus feet of my Gurudev. Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj Ki Jai. So I want to go beyond Vaikuntha with you a little bit. So before entering into this transcendental literature, it's not a literature, it's a treasure. Before opening this transcendental treasure to relish the beautiful gems and gold that is present within it, first we will pray to our Gurudev, the commentator, and Sri Sanatan Goswami, the compiler of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in the words of Raghunath Das Goswami.
Vairaga Juga Bhaktira Samprayatnair Apayanan Mam Anubhikshamandam Kripam Budirya Paradukuduki Sanatanaspam Prabhum Ashrayami. Begging in the dust of their lotus feet that may even a particle of their moods, which are present within these pages, manifest within our hearts. I'll have you know that growing up as a child in the Krishna consciousness movement, minus all of the pretense or the nonsense which was from the side being disseminated in the name of bhakti, but the bhakti aspect itself was the most attractive, beautiful, amazing, fun, and sweet. I don't know how the seniors experienced it, means our parents' generation, but as children, everything was the most amazing festival every single day. You go in the temple in the morning and dun, 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 dun. Boom, the doors open and the frankincense smoke billows out and you can't really see anything yet. And then dun, 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 Govindam. And then poof, you can see Thakurji starting to manifest through that billowing smoke. It was so beautiful, so attractive. Seeing Srila Prabhupada on the Vyasa song with hundreds of devotees jumping up in the air, full of love and affection for him. And then having to part ways so that we could go and get a cookie from him. And his smile when he would give us the cookies. Rathayatra festival, everything was beautiful, larger than life. I mean, we got to go on elephant rides in Los Angeles at the Rathayatra festival. Who would think of something like that? That was amazing. And then Janmashtami, they would block the road off, put carpets down the road and put big stages there. And it was just a beautiful festival. If we represent Krishna honestly, truthfully, properly, beautifully, and don't make excuses for our nonsense and our own lack or our own compromising. We can say, I'm not there, I'm sorry, or it's a mistake. It's not, instead of making excuses. I asked my father, when I came home from Vrindavan Gurukul, I was 9 years old. And I asked him a question, because there was a sannyasi who was always speaking about women, one way or another. And I asked my father, I said, and it was a cryptic question, I was 9 or 10. I said, if someone is always speaking about women, could you assume that that's where their mind is at? And he was like, oh my God, how does a parent answer a question like that? He said that he had to make a very firm decision in his heart at that moment. Should I twist things or should I be honest? And he said he had to choose to be honest. So he told me, generally, yeah, if that's what they're always talking about, because it was like 90% of the time. And it was either positively or negatively, most of the time in the negative, but still it was like, like that. And so he just told me, and he said, I have to be honest, yes. Generally, yes. That you can assume such a thing. And I was like, okay. And for me, I really appreciated that simple honesty, because children are not as foolish as people make out. We don't know where anyone is coming from, why they have come into the path of Rupanuga Bhakti from their birth. Where were they coming from in their last life? Apparently they've already experienced, we have all experienced unlimitedly being cheated. And finally we have the chance to come to the path of pure Bhakti. It is so disastrous to again have to be cheated in the name of Bhakti. So simple honesty can go a long, long way. This is the teachings of Guru. This is the teachings of Sadhu and Shastra. These activities which we're discussing in relation with this, they have nothing to do with the path of Bhakti. So you don't need to accept that those activities are Bhakti. That is outside of Bhakti. And because my father had done that, had honestly told me that, that is not Bhakti. And the same thing when I first
met my Gurudev formally in Seattle. Someone was trying to impress upon me that, well, astrologically, it's my time to take initiation, and if I miss this chance, then I'll lose my opportunity. And I was just looking, already inside, I was feeling very put off. And I actually went to my father and I said, what is this? And I was just like, I don't want to have any part of this. You know, it was like using something else to, and I knew that it wasn't bhakti. Somehow inherently, I knew it wasn't the real thing. And it was putting me off also from going close to Gurudev. And my father said, it's traveling along with him, but it has nothing to do with what he's giving. And that settled me down. He said, he's giving pure bhakti. All of this other stuff is just fluff on the outside. It's not the pure thing. And for me, that was extremely powerful, that I didn't have to compromise and mix jnana, karma, adi with the pure bhakti that Gurudev was coming to give. That kind of thing is detrimental. Like when Gurudev first invited me in 1996, before he went to the West, I went to see him in Navadvip. And immediately I developed trust in him. I developed some faith. I even offered to bring my friends if they had any questions, because I knew that they just didn't trust their authority structure. So I offered, yes, so many have questions. When they have questions, I can bring them to you. And I was very happy to be there with him. I had wanted to meet him for so long. And he even invited, you can join us in our parikrama. You're welcome to come and join our parikrama. And immediately after that, when we were about ready to leave, somebody who was present there started pressuring me for money. And, you know, well, you have to pay this, you have to give this, pay that. And I was just like, what is this? This is no different than where I was coming from. And so those things which are not directly pure bhakti, which are being pressured in the name of bhakti, can actually push someone away from bhakti. And that is why, in my understanding, so many young people who had the opportunity to run on the path of bhakti and to take shelter of pure devotees lost their enthusiasm. Not just young people, so many others, because so many cheating religions were being placed in front of them in the name of bhakti, by which they weren't able to discriminate properly. So it's easier sometimes to throw out the baby with the bathwater, unless you have a good guide. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Yes, there's a lot of bathwater, but the baby, that essential thing, your bhakti lata, that is so beautiful, so precious, so valuable. Don't give that up. My mom used to tell me when I was really young, gosh, how I was 7 or 8 years old, she would actually tell me, whatever you do, don't leave the path of bhakti. Even if I bloop, don't follow me, she would say. And I remembered that. That was something that really struck me. Even if I become weak, you should be strong. And I value that in my parents because their mood was, and my father always told me this, his mood was, this soul has come into this world, in this environment. Let me somehow give him an opportunity to make his life successful by somehow engaging him in thinking about, remembering Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. I think Srila Prabhupada impressed this mood in him because in Dallas, when all of the Gurukul there chanted so many, the Brahma Sanghita for Prabhupada, afterwards Srila Prabhupada said, the test of all of their education is that when they see a sadhu, they will fall flat like a stick before him. This was the test of all of their education. And that was quite impressive. That somehow we should be able to recognize, by the grace of Krishna and by the grace of the Vaishnava, we should be able to recognize any pure devotee and submit ourselves at their lotus feet. And this is my prayer to this day, because I don't have the eyes to see, I don't know, but I pray that may you be merciful to me that I might be able to recognize, however and wherever and whenever you may appear. That I shouldn't just judge based on color or sex or nationality or any of these external things, age or anything. Who has a heart which is saturated with Krishna Bhakti Ras? Who can awaken that in my heart? May I be able to recognize that person wherever, however, and whenever they may appear. Because if I just try to trust my own material vision, I can fail myself. Even my ears can fail me. So many can talk sweetly. So many look sweet. So many manifest sweetness. I was reading from Srila Bhakti Swarup Siddhanti Maharaj today. Where is it? Oh, it's over there. Let me just, I guess I'm not going to be reading much from the book today. Let's see. Oh, they're doing a little bit of research today. Where is that? It's in the Harmonist magazine. There it is. There it is. I don't want to read the heavy stuff. I want to read the inspirational stuff. Okay. Among all the jivas who are wandering throughout the universe, one who has accrued spiritual merit over many lifetimes obtains the seed of the creeper of bhakti, or shraddha. This is an important point. It's not a mustard seed. It's not any kind of seed it's shraddha. Shraddha manifests in the association or hearing from pure devotees. So that is bhakti lata bij. The association of pure devotees awakens our shraddha. This takes place when the jiva, by the mercy of Krishna, is favored by Krishna's dear associates. Endowed with that shraddha, the disciple, as a gardener, plants that seed in his heart. He waters it by hearing and chanting the instructions flowing from the mouth of Sri Gurudev. He waters it by hearing and chanting the instructions flowing from the mouth of Sri Gurudev. Thus, by these activities, the creeper sprouts and gradually climbs to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So here, I wanted to share, some of it's really heavy. I have to be careful here. So he says, Sri Bhagavan as Antaryami. Antaryami means the all-knowing who is seeing everything, who is residing inside the heart, resides in the hearts of all. Since pure devotees are the Antaryami of even Bhagavan, means they're within his heart. As Krishna says, Tomara Hridaya Sada Govinda Vishnam, Govinda Kohena Mama Vaisnava Paran, that my Vaishnavas, my devotees, they are my life and soul. They can serve him according to his internal desires and thus please him. Thus they are known as Bhagavat Preshth, very near and dear to Bhagavan. Even after becoming the genuine disciple of such a person, one must understand the inner desire of Sri Gurudev and serve him accordingly. So, I can't remember exactly the part that I wanted to read because most of them are quite strong and quite heavy. As I told you, he was uncompromising. So, I will leave that for now. It was in the Harmonist from 2006. Beautiful glorification of him by Srila Gurudev, and then a beautiful glorification from him of his Gurudev, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, and then all of these 32 different tenets of his teachings, the essence of his teachings. So I recommend that it should be required reading. So I know we have 2 or 3 minutes remaining, or 5. We've still got a few minutes. A lot can be accomplished in 5 minutes. So yesterday we were speaking about Krishna. The speciality of Krishna, which is different from Narayan. Narayan doesn't generally come here himself, but he manifests in other forms. But Swayam Bhagavan, the supreme original personality of Godhead himself, Brajendra Nandan, Shyama Sundar, Advai, Gyan Tattva, the supreme non-dual absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, of Vrindavan, himself manifests in this world and performs such beautiful and sweet pastimes that the entire universe is charmed. This is a speciality of Krishna. Bringing Vrindavan with him, he descends in his original form, playing the flute and enjoying with the gopis. Bringing his dham and associates, he descends in his self-same form. The Narayan present at Badri Narayan in the form of Nara and Narayan is different from Vaikuntha Adhipati Narayan. So Narayan Rishi, who is situated at Badri Narayan in the Himalayas, he is not the same as the original form of Narayan in Vaikuntha. When Narayan came here as Vamana, Lakshmi also came here, but it was Vaman Narayan that came here. And in Vaikuntha Dham, there was still Vaikuntha Adhipati Narayan. Karnadakshai Vishnu, lying on Shesha, is also Narayan. Karnadakshai Vishnu, who's creating all the universes, lying on Sheshanag, he's also Narayan. But his form and activities are different than Vaikuntapati Narayan. The form and activities of the original Narayan of Vaikuntha are not brought to this world. Therefore, it is said that there is no actual incarnation of Narayan himself. But in his original form, as a Kishor, Krishna descends, bringing his associates, his Leela, and the entire 64 square mile Brajamandal, which includes Radha Kund, Shyama Kund, Giriraj Govardhan, Nandagram, and Varshana. This is his special characteristic. Narayan does not do this. This is Krishna's unique characteristic as the avatari. Although I have always understood that that same Krishna is also always present in Aprakat, transcendental Vrindavan Dham, within the center of the whirl of the lotus of the transcendent world, Aprakat, always performing his pastimes, but he himself also, not different from himself, expands himself, not expands. He is the same. So he is himself expanded. I can't use that word. Inconceivable. Achintya. He is here in Vrindavan, the same Vrindavan, with his same transcendental associates, all of his same cows, same Govardhan, same Jamuna, same everything. And himself the same Srimati Radhika, all present here in this transcendental plane, which is able to be seen by those whose eyes are smeared with the sap of love. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yang shyama sundaram achintya gunasvarupam. Achintya, that's the word there. Inconceivable. Govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. So those eyes which are smeared with the salve of love, that anurag for Krishna, they will be able to see Krishna's beautiful pastimes. Not only when he was performing them 5,000 years ago here, but even now, here. And also there, all at the same time. Nikunja yunorati keli siddhyai yayali viryuktirapekshaniya tatrati dakshat atiballabhasya. Always serving in the Nikunjas of Vrindavan, the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna. Bhagavan has so many forms and all are Hatari Gati Dayaka. So I read that yesterday. It means those demons and enemies who are personally killed by him are given a higher destination. So Ramchandra, Narasingha, Varaha, Parshuram, and all other incarnations are of that nature. The 5 qualities that are found in Bhagavan are not found in the demigods. So we read that before. When any incarnation of Narayan up to Narasingha kills someone, what destination do they give to them? Sutala, Svarga, Brahmalok, all kinds of destinations. And they will also give liberation, mukti, to some enemies killed by them. According to how someone has approached them, they will give a particular destination to that person. For example, in Ram Lila, there was Sharbanga Rishi, who was worshipping the impersonal Brahma. That means the Brahma Jyoti, the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. He heard that Ramchandra was coming, and thinking that Ram was the personification of Brahma, he waited for him. So he was thinking that Ram is the personification of the impersonal feature of the absolute. After the sage waited for some time, Ramchandra finally came and gave his darshan. Being very pleased, the sage said, "O Lord, give me my desired destination." Then from the sage's body a light came out, and that light entered into the body of Ramchandra, and the sage attained liberation. Hanuman would never accept this. In Padyavali, there's a verse. Rupa Goswami has a book of amazing verses from all different obscure scriptures. And there's a verse from Hanuman himself. If the liberation or merging into the Lord means that I cannot serve my Lord, I would never accept that. So that idea of merging, in Bhagavatam, Srimad Narayan says, even if I offer these kinds of liberations, especially Sayujya Mukti, or merging into my form, my devotee will never accept it, because it is devoid of devotional service. So Gurudev now says, he was such an unfortunate man. He received the direct darshan of Ramchandra, and he merely asked for liberation. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita states something quite heavy in this regard. The most feared thing for a Vaishnava is this idea of merging into the form of the Lord. There's two kinds of mukti. There's Brahma Sayujya, which is merging into the effulgence of the Lord. Although it's almost like an eternity, it might be that one can come out of there because devotees pass through there to go to Krishna. So they may glance in your direction. You might actually have some saffron particle which emanates from their body touch you, and you might awaken from that Brahmagyan platform. But Ishvara Sayujya is considered the most hard-hearted thing. It means merging into the form of the Lord. Why? Because it means that you have acknowledged the form of the Lord. You have seen it, you have recognized it, and still the desire, which is actually the nature of every Atma, to serve the Lord does not awaken in your heart. So it is considered the most hard-hearted thing that still, even after acknowledging the form of the Lord, I do not desire to serve Him. Rather, I desire to be Him, or to merge with Him, to become one with Him. So Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita states that because of being so hard-hearted, then those personalities who think they have merged into the form of the Lord, rather they will take very hard forms, like non-moving living entities, like stones, trees, or as our Gurudev said, like very hard substances like diamonds and crystals deep within the core of the earth, where they will remain in such a hardened state for the rest of the duration of the Brahmanda. Means until the universe merges back into Mahavishnu's body. And then again, when everything manifests outward, then you might receive a chance to again enter into samsara and maybe attain the association of any Vaishnava to bring you forward on the path of bhakti. So Brahmanda is a very long time. Our Brahmanda only lasts for 311.4 trillion of our years. So if you can count that far, good luck. I think it would take something like 1,000 lifetimes to count that much. But Yeah, Gurudev said because of this hard-heartedness, then they enter into those stones. So we should not take shelter of gemstones and crystals and diamonds and all of those things. We should take shelter of the path of bhakti, the process of bhakti, Tulsi Devi, Giriraj Govardhan, Jamuna, the pure devotee, Sri Guru, Srimad Bhagavatam, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Vaisnavas. Not all of these other things, which actually might be Mayavadis in the form of, or even Ishvar Sayujyavadis in the form of hard stones. This is another process which is included within Jnana, Karma, Adi, and so forth, Anavritam. Bhakti is not dependent on any of these things. It rejects all of those other processes. The process of Jnana and Karma and all of these other things which are not really going to awaken pure devotion for Krishna in our hearts. So, here, that man was such an unfortunate man. He received the direct darshan of Ramchandra and he merely asked for liberation. Therefore, Ram will give liberation. Many incarnations will give it, but to those who approach them as enemies, these incarnations will not give prem. There's a speciality, of course, that's coming up. Krishna's nature is that even if you approach him as an enemy, he can give you prem. He will. But here, these ones, they reciprocate as they are approached. And Krishna of Bhagavad Gita maybe also, but Krishna of Braj is very different than all of these other forms. And this is something which Srila Gurudev will manifest. So those who approach them as enemies in these incarnations will not give prem. So now it's time to end. Our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he would always say, Madhurena samarpayet. All is well that ends sweetly. So we just spoke about a heavy subject of Ishvar Sayujya and Brahma Sayujya. Vaishnavas should stay very far away from these things and even far away from that association. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mayavad bhasha shunaile hoi sarvanash. Just to hear these conceptions can destroy all of our inclination on the path of devotion. And it's not because they're more powerful or more superior to it. It's only because our inclination has always been striving for a long time due to so much suffering in the material world to become free of dualities, to become free from suffering. So because we have that nature developed within us, these impressions for so many thousands and millions and billions and trillions of lifetimes, it's very attractive when we hear about that. So Mahaprabhu says, don't hear about that. Don't read too many of these other conceptions. Don't become distracted from your path. And what is our path? Path of the soul, the nature of the soul, the real journey of the soul is to awaken its own nature. And what is that? Jivera Swarupahoy Krishna Nityadas. Every soul is made to love and serve Krishna. That's how love is expressed, through service. How do you express love to someone? You don't just sit in the room and just feel it. And then when something happens to them, you just think, oh, it'd be nice if I can help them out. But you never make any endeavor. Love is expressed through seva. The nature of all souls is that they are ever existent. They are meant to be active. And that activity is a relationship and the activities of those relationships, of those individual relationships. What is the relationship? What is my specific relationship with my particular Lord? And what is my function in that relationship? There's existence, relationship, and ananda. It means always endeavoring to serve, to give pleasure, to give happiness and benefit to the object of my love and affection. That is the nature of all souls. And so by awakening that nature, only then will one actually be fully happy. right? If one engages in their supreme dharma or occupation, which is the nature of their soul, which is bhakti to Krishna, and that bhakti is flowing. It is natural and spontaneous and without any material motivation, only for his happiness, for his pleasure, his benefit. Then one can experience the highest kind of transcendental pleasure. What is that? That is pleasing Krishna. And as an automatic effect of that, happiness and pleasure will come. Supra siddhati. Complete perfection, complete happiness. What is the real supra siddhati? Prem. This highest goal. The goal of all of our chanting, the goal of our bhajan. Krishna Prem. To love and serve Krishna. And we'll go more deeply into that later. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Rupanu Guru Varga ki jai, Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj ki jai, Tadya Tirabha Maha Mahotsava ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Shri Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Of course, we're going to have Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. I just want to read this from Jiva Pavana. The conditioned soul doesn't understand the real meaning of liberation and or freedom. They think that servitude and following rules is bondage. That's true. We see how it is in the world today. They think that freedom means to do whatever they want without any responsibilities. They don't understand the freedom found in surrender and service. That's because we've only ever chased after our own material, selfish, self-serving tendency. But if we can accept that we are actually made of love for Krishna, that's what we're made of and made for. We're from him and for him. When we can accept that, then we will be in alignment with our nature. Until we come into alignment with our nature, we will always feel strife. And when we come in alignment with our nature, then we will feel everlasting peace. It doesn't mean everlasting boredom. It just means that natural, spontaneous, loving flow, like a raging river toward the ocean of Krishna, will ever increase more and more. Our hearts should be like that. Our souls should be like that. That we should flow with love and affection for Krishna. And then we will be happy forever. Why? Because Krishna will be happy with our seva. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Gurudev Jai Gurudev, Gurudev Jai Gurudev Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada, Gaura Hari Bol, 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 Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Bol. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagwan Guru ki jai, Paripar Shri Narayan ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinanda Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Vinoy Hari ki jai, Radha Hari ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Shri Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanta Maharaj ki jai, Devyatra Mahamahotsav ki jai, Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari. Govinda Dharmadharite, Govinda Dharmadharite, Govinda Dharmadharite, Govinda Dharmadharite. Bolo Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Shyam Gaura Premanande. So thank you all very much for being with us today and giving us the opportunity to remember the beautiful teachings of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and to also remember some of the pastimes and the glories of Srila Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj. We look forward to being with all of you tomorrow. Thank you for giving us this opportunity for our Guru Seva. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Dandavat pranam, Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radha Vinoy Bihari Ju ki jai, Shachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai.